have a wonderful panel for you. I'm going to get started because our timer has officially started already. We only have 45 minutes and we have 5 incredible people up here. But before we get started, I want to say, sorry, this panel has changed like 5 times as to what it is. So let me tell you what this panel is, those of you who are funneling in still. Seating room only. You can find places to sit in the aisles. Please squeeze in as far as you can whenever you come in to sit. This panel is about video creation, both on YouTube and not. And we have wonderful panelists here for you. We're going to be talking about video creation. And since our time is already ticking away super fast, I'm just going to fly into it. We're going to start at the very end and let you introduce yourselves, like 1 sentence. Who are you? What do you do?
Hey, so how's it going, guys? My name's Angus. I run a YouTube channel called Maker's Views. Talk about
Right now, our time is so short. Save your applause to the end. We know you love these people.
Only applaud Angus.
It's about 3D printing and the aims to empower creativity through that process. Yeah.
Hey, I'm Bob, and I like to make stuff.
Hi, I'm Becky Stern. I'm a content creator at Instructables, and I make tutorials about Kraft technology and my life here in New York City.
I'm Edgar Park, I'm a maker, and I build videos and projects for Fruit Industries online.
Hey, I'm Joel. I'm the 3D printing nerd on YouTube, and I tend to make videos in my spare time about 3D printing.
Wonderful. Okay, so at the very last minute, we put together this panel, and I'm going to tell you why I selected who I selected super quick. We have a mix. We have a mix of super big popular YouTube stars. We have people who don't necessarily grow their own channel to be huge, like John Park doesn't have a massive personal channel. We have people who have been doing stuff forever. We have people who are just kind of getting started in the relative time frame of this whole maker culture. So it's a wide mix of content creators, and we're going to start talking about different topics and different things in terms of video creation. So, right off the bat, let's hop in to video creation in the maker world. We're seeing all kinds of stuff, but the biggest thing for me is community, right? So a lot of these people are probably wondering how they get started, how they grow their community. I would love to hear some thoughts on like what's the best way to grow a healthy and vibrant community around your stuff. Anybody want to?
Okay, so a lot of people ask me like how they can get involved in the community, especially in YouTube specifically. And my answer is always to bring value. No matter what you're doing, whether that's you're creating content or you're being a part of somebody else's existing community. So what I tell people a lot is to go to other people's videos that you like and look through the comments and look for questions that are not answered and answer those questions. Be the valuable person in the room that's being helpful. Not for the sake of like, hey, check me out, I'm helpful, but just be helpful. And when you do that enough, people will say like, oh, that person's really awesome, who is that? And they'll go check you out. That's a good way to involve yourself in an existing community. And the more you are helpful and the more you create, the community will come up around what you do, I think, naturally.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also, even with 3D printing now, it's such a big space. There's such a huge community around it. If you can just focus on something that you find really interesting, even if it's really obscure, there's still something in that field. Focus on that, be a niche in a niche, and bring something new to the table. And you'll get a following if you just stick at it and bring something new.
And then you should share your failures because it makes you more approachable and others. It makes it clear that like people who are trying to follow your instructions are also just trying this for the first time and more approachable and doable.
A lot of times what I've done is seen people that ask more famous people questions or try to get information from them, and then I will interject myself into that conversation, like on Twitter, and reply to something and say, hey, they may not have time, I know the answer, or here's something that you might look for, and then that hopefully breeds a more informative conversation.
I'll echo Becky's sentiment on failures. I have done for last year videos for Fruit that were pre-edited videos on projects that I then do a learning guide on. Just in the last few months I've started doing a weekly live show. You'll notice live show is where fail a heck of a lot more, and I'm going to get more participation from the community because of the chat. We have people in a Discord chat mostly at this point, and they are really engaged because they're watching you beat field.
That makes sense. And that's a big difference. I understand you did some TV for Make ages ago, and there's a big difference, you know, and like on TV, you're never.
Yeah, my career has been devolving, so I started out doing this stuff. 2009, we did a show on public television, PBS. It was a Make TV show we produced. And so I was a co-writer and I was the host of the workshop section, so I build a thing every week from potato cannon to VCR-powered cat feeder, thank you. And that was at a Twin Cities Public Television, so it's a full crew. It was amazing because I could just focus on building the projects and being on camera building the projects. And now I'm a one-man band, like I think most of us are, and it's a very different thing because there's no one at all really saying, here's how you should do it. So I'm very closely speaking to an audience of people who can directly access me. Would you build a thing? Would you see this? Would you show that? I think like that is, in real time versus a television show, which is in the can months before you end up seeing it.
Yeah. I am blasting through stuff as fast as I can because we're going to run out of time so quick, especially if we're going to take questions. Man, we live in an internet age. We got commenters. Some of them are jerks. How do you deal with it both literally, like, how do you deal with it in your individual channels, and then, like, emotionally, how do you deal with it? I know for me, it's hard. So.
I want to take some on that because I got a comment from someone who disparaged my kids and called them fat and ugly in a YouTube comment on a video they had done, and at that point, I just want to unleash hell on earth because that's not okay with me. But I tried to engage this person, and I was like, dude, that's not cool, what are you doing? And then I was able to find out kind of where they live. in the city. So I said, okay, are there other people in this city that are like you? You should, don't do this. He's like, oh, you know where I live? Oh, wait a minute, I'm so sorry. I don't have a good relationship with my parents. They call me names at school. And so I just tried to, I was like, this person is coming from, I sort of understand what they're doing. They're trying to lash out online at something that may be anonymous. But once there was humanity behind that comment, then it became more of a place of healing. And I know you can't do that with every single troll out there, but I always attempt to initially reach out to see if there's humanity behind that anonymous comment. And if there's not, then I can ignore it and block it or shadow ban it. But in this case and other cases like that, it was helpful.
I'll second what he said. Try to pity them, then block them, and stalk them. For your own sake.
Relentless.
Make sure they're not your command creep.
Yeah. Emotionally, it's always been a little bit tough for me to take some of that, because the majority of the comments that I get, at least, are really positive and really encouraging, and that's just so awesome. And then it's just like somebody throws a big pile of mud in your eye while you're like, oh wow, these people are great. Wham! It's just this nasty thing. But I found that if you think about it, like if everybody in this room was talking in a normal voice, any one of you could say a horrible thing and nobody would notice. And I think that's what comments are. They think that what they say is not going to be heard among the noise. And so if you take that into consideration, it's not necessarily like a personal jab, it's not a personal attack, it's just like they think they can get away with something that's not cool. And in the grand scheme of things, that helps me to be like, okay, just push it aside, delete it. And I have a zero tolerance policy in all of my comments and all my stuff. So if somebody's being uncool to me or somebody else, they're out. And I do that specifically to maintain the level of community that I want, the type of community I want, so that anybody can come ask a question and not feel like there's a good chance I might get like attacked here. I want everybody to be able to ask questions in any situation, and eliminating the negative people in those communities is the way that I found that works best.
Yeah, we built a similar thing lately in Discord is the chat where we kind of point everyone, because we stream on a bunch of places like YouTube and Twitch and Periscope. So most of our chat is there, and we've developed very quickly a very supportive community, and they want to watch out for us and each other too. So you start to get community members becoming moderators, which is important, and they won't tolerate either because they want to keep it friendly.
Yeah, I think just going back to the idea of anonymity as well on the internet, and what's already been discussed, a lot of people will do a troll comment not expecting a reply. Going back to what Joel said, and I have in some cases be like, oh yeah, okay, how about this, or why did you say that? And they'll actually look at it and say, oh sorry, I like your channel. In that case, but, which is interesting.
He's looking at me!
Yeah. But I definitely do develop a network of haters who will religiously downvote your videos as soon as they go up. And I just, you fuel me. Like, I pity you, but you don't bother me anymore. But there's definitely some that do hit a nerve. But it gets, you kind of start to learn how to sort of work around it, because the majority is so much more positive. If you did stats, it would be ridiculous. The positive versus negative in this community.
And I will say one more thing too, like the personal response, that like actual human beings that have real feelings and stuff. makes up for any of the negative. I met a guy, I don't know where he is here, but he said he bought tools because of me today. Awesome. Every negative comment in the world that I've ever had is out the window because of that one conversation.
And for every negative comment that there is online, there's like 5 people who really enjoyed your video and didn't write anything. So like every negative comment you get to count as 5 other ones.
And stalk them too.
That's fantastic. So how much, a lot of you are putting out content very rapidly, weekly, twice a week, twice a day sometimes. How much do you kind of follow a news cycle in your respective areas or in general? Like how much does the news or product releases affect what you're putting out on YouTube or in your tutorials or whatever?
For me, a little bit with the product releases because, for example, AdaBox is this quarterly sort of box, subscription box thing that comes out. And so I'm starting to do more projects that are related to those. So I'll know, oh, you know, coming out, like this one just came out the other day, it's got a little Raspberry Pi Zero in it and a Joy-Con. I'm going to make a project that's for Halloween that uses that and a display, and so I have like a haunted portrait thing. So I'm keeping an eye on that stuff, and then also we have like some trends where we'll be like, you know, IoT things, we want to make something look accessible, so I'll keep that in mind, and then the rest of it is actually, here, I'll tell you the secret, I double dip with it. So like I build props for magicians and illusions and things and escape rooms for clients, and some of those I get the okay on both sides from Adafruit and that client that, hey, I'm going to actually make a video and a guide for Adafruit so that this thing that I'm building for real and I've got to spend time doing anyway, if I document it well, it also gets out there and serves that purpose. Those are a few drivers I have. Same with you?
Same. Yeah, I'll do it very occasionally, because I used to do wearables at Adafruit and now I'm doing like all kinds of crafts and electronics. I'll do occasionally like a film or TV costume gig, like I made a jacket for Buzz Aldrin on the Colbert Show, and I made an instructional about it, but it was okay. It was awesome.
That's awesome. I actually go the opposite direction, where I try to intentionally not do things related to releases and things like that, because I want, over time, for my channel to be a catalog of relevant stuff. And so if things are not timely and not pop culture directly related, somebody can go back 2 or 3 years later and it's still a relevant video. Now, obviously, there's some Star Wars. I love Star Wars, so when new Star Wars comes out, I'm excited about it and I make something about it. But it's not like it's not necessarily to capitalize. It's just.
Yeah, I'd say with YouTube, you have 2 types of videos. You have like the trending stuff, which will get huge spikes, but then just disappear into the ether. And then you have the evergreen stuff, which is what I try to do. Especially with the 3D printing market at the moment, there's a huge rush now with new products. And they're like, we got a review in like 2 weeks. Like, no. There's no way that's going to happen because I'm going to rush for that to happen. But I'd rather provide content that someone can come back in 3 years' time and it's still relevant. And I think that's with YouTube, especially, as Bob said, you have a catalog. You know, once you start having 300 videos, that's a lot of stuff for a newcomer to come across and just be like, okay, I'm just going to have a whole weekend looking at them.
And
I've seen that like channels that do a lot of reviews, you get the community you deserve, right? So if you do too many reviews, not enough products, you get people who are just chasing newness and they're not there because of you. So like being careful about how much you follow and align yourself with a brand or news cycles that you can't control is, I think, important when you establish a channel.
I was going to say, from an income perspective, like if you're trying to actually make a living off of this, the evergreen stuff is way more, I think, a long-term solution, because the money that you're making off of ad sales and things is an aggregate. So the more videos you add that people are going to continue to watch, that baseline month to month is going to go up and up and up. And if you're chasing current things, like Angus was saying, there'll be a spike at the beginning, but then it drops off and nobody ever watches it again, you've made your money there. And that's the only income that video is going to be able to bring you. So it's another thing to consider.
I also think that for a lot of us, one of the things that people are coming to our channels for is our enthusiasm and our optimism and excitement about the projects that we're doing. So that kind of goes without saying. If you're working on stuff you're really excited about, you don't have to pretend. And people are like, oh, he's really freaking into that joystick thing he's building. It's infectious. So I hope it is.
I don't have a lot of time to do what I do online, and so while I love to plan stuff out, or at least I love to try to plan things out, it never goes according to plan. And so I just try to do the things that I can get done quickly. And unfortunately, it means a lot of things have to fall by the side. And so if I want to plan out like a Christmas thing or Halloween thing, it's usually done in July or August, just because of my queue and what I have going on. I'd love to be able to do that, but it's the content production schedule just doesn't adhere to the time that we give it.
Great insight. Okay, so For those of you who are primarily YouTube, there are, I don't know how many of you live on YouTube, but I'm on there every day looking at stuff, and there are trends that you will find that kind of change and alter. That'll be things like, the trend now is changing your thumbnail to be a face that takes up, you know, exactly 3/4 of the screen with what you're looking at, and you're gonna make it a silly face, and then these trends will like take over, and you know that you'll perform better if you do this. And then the next trend will be like, well, your video's got to be 10 minutes or longer, and then it'll do. How much do you follow this stuff or care about this stuff, and how much of it just kind of happens in the ether?
I gotta say, I find that whole sort of side of YouTube really fascinating, because YouTube will not tell you the algorithm. They'll never tell it to you. But then, as you said, you get these trends of people who are passionate about, oh, you have to have all your tags in your title because YouTube cares, or you have to have this picture of some person, or like, you know, these things that they come up and down. Really, at the end of the day, YouTube changes things, which is fair, and it does affect views for some types of content, but you're just going to be consistent with good content. You can't game the system. If you're trying to do that from the start, you're going to fail. It's all about making the good content, because some things will just go crazy. You'll be like, how did that happen? There's some people putting effort into that video. Some things might be doing poorly, like I spent 2 weeks on that. Just keep going. You know, don't try to game it.
So this year at VidCon, some of the YouTube engineers actually came up and talked about the algorithm, which is like, if anybody that doesn't know, it's like the AI side of YouTube that decides who gets to see what they promote and stuff. And they actually started to open up some of those secrets. And it wasn't like, they couldn't say the algorithm is this list of things. It's not that. It's a gigantic system with tons of engineers working on it. And the core of it is getting videos to people that they think that they want to see based on what they've watched before. So making your thumbnail with a crazy face and your giant eyes and all that type of stuff, it might get some eyeballs on it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that those people are going to enjoy the video, or they're going to watch all of it. And so that stuff is they're almost throwaway views. But if you continually make things that are going to keep people engaged to watch the entire video, YouTube's algorithm is going to say like, wow, they watched the whole thing. Maybe they like this person. I'll show them more of John, more of Becky. You know, I'm going to show them more of the same thing if they've shown that they watch a lot of it. So from that perspective, for me, it goes back to the evergreen stuff. If I make consistently good, consistent stuff, and people like it, they're going to get more of it. And that's what I want long term.
The trends are just trends, and there's like SEO behind the YouTube algorithm, and so like it makes sense to go back and update your past thumbnails if you're embarrassed by them, because you can. Or like if your video is performing well, adding captions, those captions will get put into the like search algorithm too, and your video will be promoted higher for, because it like can legitimately tell what the content of the audio is and how it's related to your tag or whatever. So it pays to like invest in trendy, like for lack of a better word, optimizations to your channel, but that's not what you're asking. You're asking about the bug eye thumbnails.
No, but that's a fantastic point, though. That's a fantastic point.
So there was this case where I have no idea what was going on with the YouTube algorithm, where I made a video for Dremel and Make, so a bunch of project videos, and I built a kind of a muffler for a bicycle that's similar to just putting a card in the spokes, but it amplified that. And so there's a video of me standing there. It's these boots actually make different jeans. This bicycle I have, and I'm just turning the crank for 15 seconds, and so, and I got 750,000 views on it really quickly, and a whole bunch of angry people in the comments saying, what the heck is this junk? I was watching Lamborghini videos. The sound of it, like, is part of their algorithm, but the most popular video on my personal channel.
I remember I try to make thumbnails from video frames. And so I'll look through my video, I'll try to find a good frame, and then I can bring it into Photoshop and I can adjust levels and colors, add some text, maybe a background or something, do some alpha layering, and then I export as a JPEG and I put it up there. That's what I usually try to do. I like to think thumbnails as the advertisement for the video. So if you go to a supermarket, it's the flyer for the cereal or something like that. But I had a similar thing. I had a video where I just printed the Makerfaire coin sorter, and I showed how it was crappy. It didn't work, and it peaked at over 1 million views. And all of the comments were, "Oh, I thought it was a coin snorter. I thought, I don't know,
make this stuff up."
But it just got re-recommended through the YouTube algorithm, and so I just want to know why people got that recommended to them. Maybe they're watching coin snorting videos. I don't know.
As far as the thumbnail thing, another thing to consider, like if you make a crazy thumbnail, for instance, with like that, buggy eyes, that one really bugs me. It happens a lot.
Yep.
If you make that for YouTube, that's the only place you're going to use that image. I guarantee it, because it doesn't make sense anywhere else. But if you can make a thoughtful, really eye-catching thumbnail with some text on it that explains what they're going to see, that's an image you've spent time on that you can use on Pinterest, you can use it on Facebook, and you can use it on all these different places to help promote the same piece of content. And when you produce content on a regular basis, making assets like that is a huge time suck. So making one that you can use in a bunch of places is way more usable, I think.
I've got so many questions. I'm going to have to drop some of them because I want to leave some time for questions from the audience. But how about some tips on making tutorial content? It's harder than people think it is. Let's get some tips on making educational videos on how to make stuff, because all of you do that too, in different ways. I'd like to hear some tips.
Well, as far as building a 3D printer, I've done educational stuff on that. We're using Fusion 360. The idea is you want your voice to be crisp and clear, you want the audio to be good, and you want the steps that you showcase to be pretty precise. You can speed through it a little bit because people can slow it down, people can pause it, but speak normally and enunciate and create good audio, and then just make sure what you're showcasing matches it. So if you record some Fusion 360 tutorials, just record the whole thing, and if you want, you can go over with your voice afterward, playing the specific sections of the tutorial you want people to pay attention to, or you could just film yourself and the tutorial, record it at the same time, output that video, and then make cuts wherever you sneeze or sniffle.
Yeah, I've done some where I build, I've done long videos where it's 15 minutes long of doing a build that's kind of pretty much in real time, so it's all there. And then I always have to also create a documented learn guide of it, so more grid tutorial books. Sometimes I'm going to pull frames from them, sometimes I'll do a separate build. The one trick that I've done a few times is I'll build something that's pretty fiddly and complex, like one of our little rover race kits. And then I will shoot a video of myself taking it apart and play it back to all you people reversed. So it looks like, as long as you're careful about not dropping screws where it looks like they fly up in your hand, because it's Jedi. But it's a really nice way to do a miraculously clean build of something, is to just take it apart on camera. That's freaky.
I'm a big fan of using the right medium for the right part of the information. So I do a lot of complex electronics tutorials. Nobody wants to see me for 15 minutes in the middle of a cool blinky video explaining the code from start to finish. So I usually think of my videos as like a commercial for the project that also contains all the gotchas. So it's like, and then I'll make GIFs from video clips that like didn't make a cut to the video but were important for the process. So my content is a YouTube video, an instructable containing still images, GIFs, that video, and text. So like, I don't feel like I need to overload my video audience with like a bunch of information that's better served in text versus like what really needs to be seen happening in video in order to understand how the project went together.
I think that next year we should have a whole panel on this question, because I think this could be
It's going to go for a while.
Yeah, so there's two things that I think are really important. One, deciding ahead of time what exactly you're trying to get across in the video is big. If you're going to make a car, you can show people like every single step, or you can show people like that it's not actually that hard. It is hard to make a car, but you can show people that it's not actually that hard to make a car. Like, what's your goal and how much are you actually trying to teach? The other thing, at least for stuff that I make, there's a lot of big things, a lot of furniture, is keeping in mind that people are not in the shop watching you, and so they don't necessarily know what they're looking at. So you have to lead them into things visually. If I'm going to make a car, for instance, I need a wide shot showing me at that end of the car before I zoom into like this tiny little piece, because otherwise they don't know where that piece is on the thing. And that helps a lot for people not to be like thrown off balance and stuff. I don't even know what I'm looking at. And then that makes it where they can't listen to what you're talking about, they lose the information. And so I think just keeping people's like spatial awareness in mind as you're filming is pretty huge.
I'll be quick because we could go forever about this topic, but just going to touch on the hardware and software side of things of doing tutorials, because I reckon software tutorials can be the easiest way to get into YouTube, because if you're good at doing a bit of software, all you need is a cheap webcam and OBS, it's free, it's open source, and you can essentially do a let's play showing how to design something and then just cut it in a way that makes sense. And you can cut it for entertainment, so you don't show everything, or you can cut it for a proper tutorial, which usually takes an hour. So it's up to you, but that's a really easy way to get into YouTube if you're interested.
I just want to really quickly echo Bob's point. One thing that I very often, maybe always do, is I want to show it completed first. This is what I'm going to be building, then go build the thing, and then say this is how it came out, and give a little more, because context is super important.
That's wonderful. I've got so many more questions, but I'm going to skip them. I want to let you guys ask questions, but real quick, before we end it, after this, those who can stay will go outside into the lobby and they will answer any more questions you have. Not everybody will be able to stay, I'm assuming. So just letting you know ahead of time. Now, we're going to do a question to the crowd right here in the front. What's your question?
Are you counting handshakes?
He's asking. I'm going to repeat the question.
And we're at 113. I arm the glove. I high five. I'll do it again. My thumb slips. There we go. 114.
He's counting high fives. I made that circuit, by the way. 114. All right, next question. Next question. You here.
Proportion of production, post-production, design. How much of how does everything play out to become a video?
What are the proportions?
50% production, 50% post-production.
Repeat the question.
The question was what proportion of time is your production and your post-production?
It hugely varies. I could print something which took 10 minutes to 3D model, and that could take nothing, or I could spend 2 weeks designing a project, and then the editing could take 10 minutes. It really does depend.
All right, go over here.
Can you say all your YouTube channel names a bit slowly?
Let's catch that afterwards. That would take quite a while to get all of those right now. But afterwards, out in the lobby, we'll catch that one. Let me get somebody further back. Anybody up there got any questions? Oh, I see up here. Yes, yeah.
How exactly do you survive? So is it?
Okay. Oh, okay. Financially?
Yeah.
How do you survive financially?
I'll take that. So for me, the biggest by far income-wise is sponsorship, corporate sponsorship. And then YouTube ads, Patreon support, product sales. I sell digital plans and physical stuff, t-shirts and stuff. Yeah, it's really kind of those together. And then, I have a podcast, so there's small income streams to that are similar as well.
I have a day job, a full legit 9 to 5 day job. After my day job, I come home to my wife and 3 kids, and we do family things. Kids go to bed, wife goes to bed, and then all my channels produce between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m. You gotta hustle, man.
John and I have jobs at maker companies that pay us a full-time salary to do what we do on YouTube and elsewhere. It's the dream.
Same here. Which is a weird balance too, because then I always feel bad if I start to grow my channel, I tone it back. So if any of you follow me, you'll notice I go quiet for months.
I felt that way when I worked at Make and Adafruit, and now Circles is encouraging me to use my social media presence on YouTube because they don't invest in theirs on YouTube, and brands don't necessarily win when they try to put content on there, or branded people on their channel. So they see the value in me having my own following there, which is really a symbiotic great thing.
Yeah, I did what Joel did for years. I worked for Disney for 12 years and was doing a lot of make stuff on the side, so it's like a second job. And I feel very fortunate now to be doing it concentrated full-time today.
Yeah, I think with YouTube, doing YouTube full-time, you absolutely need fingers in many pies, heaps of different passive incomes. So YouTube AdSense, if you rely just on that, it's a terrible idea, because it goes But I sell digital assets as well, so for project videos I'll sell the file, or maybe a premium version, or educational content beyond YouTube, and that helps a lot to pay the rent. Sorry?
You teach? Does anybody else teach?
I
teach
did,
at SBA.
but I had more time.
At the Hackerspace, I'll do work.
I do, but I don't advertise it. Back here with the camcorder that's up the road.
Yeah, does anyone want to comment on objectivity? Being objective in your content?
Elaborate.
Being not biased.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, biases, everyone has bias, unfortunately. And it is really difficult sometimes to not be biased in, especially review videos, through past experiences and that kind of thing. It just comes down to everyone has their own take on a product or take on a field of some sort of opinion on something. And so if you're looking for particularly reviews, for example, so a lot of reviews, I would seek out different restaurants. Yeah.
It comes down to empathy too. If you want to be a good instructor, you have to have empathy for your audience, and that includes empathy for other points of view that your audience might have. So I'll introduce a project and I'll be like, you can use this for a tiara, you can also use it for a Star Wars toy. Knowing what your audience is expecting helps.
Yeah, on the tools thing, this was sort of a policy we had back at Make, which was we just tended to review things that were good. So I don't do reviews, but if you see me using a tool, it's because it's a good one, so it's kind kind of an implicit thing. I say, Milwaukee makes a good chop saw. It's the one I happen to be using. That's why it's there. Sometimes I'm sponsored by them, but they have given it to me. Sometimes I bought it, but I stay out of it a little bit. But I'm not gonna use a junky piece of equipment because it was given to me free.
We don't really talk about it at Make, but we don't really publish negative reviews. We just stop. So if something comes to us as trash, we just don't talk about it. We just stop. It's not like an official thing. It's just kind of what we do.
It's Mark's fault.
Yeah. Okay. Up next, right here.
So, do you have within the realms that you operate a trusted advisor or certain people you go to give you feedback before you put your stuff out there?
Do you seek feedback from somebody you trust before you publish?
I talked to Angus, I'm like, Angus, is this whack? He's like,
Usually I'm running editing videos at like 2 a.m. on a Sunday night. Usually it's like upload, publish, go to bed. And if I do something wrong, I'll find out in the morning.
For me, I don't have that for the specific content, but as a business owner, I do have a lot of other people that do kind of what I do, and the community of content creators is super open, super supportive, and so I feel like I can call on any number of people anytime to be like, how would you handle this type of comment, or this type of sponsor, or this type of, there's a lot of information shared.
Yeah, we have a little group at Edgar Park, the creative engineering team, the people who do some of the coding and some of the project building, and we meet once a week on Skype call because we're all remote and tend to keep each other appraised of the projects we're working on. So a little bit we have reality checks. So if I'm heading towards this, I'm thinking of using that. But like Angus, it's just like when I get that thing done, it goes out there, and then I might find out later.
I take a break in between finishing and publishing because morning Becky is a lot different than evening Becky.
there are times, if Angus is going to get a printer for review, there's a really good chance I've been contacted about the same printer. And so there's a back channel conversation that happens because we're friends and be like, hey, did you experience this? Or hey, try this. And so there is that sort of advisement as far as production stuff. And I have business advisors as well because I do to treat it as a business.
But we have uploaded simultaneous things, which were pretty much the same idea, completely accidentally, which is hilarious.
All right, another question. Yes.
This is for reviews and reviews here. I just want to know how often when you're creating printing, how often you just the modes break, how often you plug your nozzle, how often you break the
How often do your 3D printers break, generally? Yeah.
All the time. Depending on the brands, and that's why you'll see some keep being used and some you'll never see again. Because if they keep breaking, they go into the cupboard, and I've never seen again.
I don't see a lot of breakage because I tend to review higher priced machines, and my review cycle isn't necessarily the hardware teardown that Angus might give it or Thompson Landry might give it, because I'm just, does it print well? Does it print good stuff? Can you use it? And so, unfortunately, I don't get to treat the machines as rough as someone would if they wanted to actually test the hardware as hard as they would if they needed brain motors.
All right, here, let's.
Not really a question, but I just wanted to say that if it weren't for Bob and Angus and Joel and Eat a Fruit and Make videos, I would be a psychologist, and now I'm making stuff for a living.
So we ruined this gentleman's career. Good job. You would be a psychologist?
And that would be down in Ecuador, in South America.
In
I just
Ecuador.
wanted to state that.
But now what do you do?
Right now, I make stuff. I make furniture and wood and metal.
But now he makes furniture out of wood and metal. Hey, I like that. All right, we got more. Here with the hat.
Where do you get your inspiration?
Where do you get your inspiration?
I'll go first. I love being able to do what I do, and I love being able to share it because of people like you and other people who tell me that I've inspired them to do stuff. I got a letter from a 12-year-old kid who said, thanks to your videos, I found myself getting interested in engineering, and that's what I'm going to pursue. I mean, what greater compliment is that? So it's that sort of thing, the people that continue to watch my content and tell me it inspires them to make and do and repurpose, that's where I get my inspiration.
That's so nice. I'm egotistical. I want people to go, that is awesome, you're such a cool guy, and it feels good. I'm sorry, but that's it.
You are such a cool guy.
What to do with your inspiration, that might be your motivation.
Oh,
My inspiration a lot comes from art, so I love to go to see art museums and art shows and go and see films, and I like to but that is hard because I like to produce as much content as I absorb. But I think it's important to be seeking out media that other people are making that you look up to, and art is a great place to start.
I was going to say the same thing about inspiration and motivation. Becky's my new friend. So for me, inspiration is problems. I get inspired by seeing things that don't work like they should work, or things that I think could be better, and that inspires me to do something else. I get motivation from the pats on the back and people who say that they've changed their trajectory because of something I did. That keeps me moving. But I definitely want to try to solve problems all the time.
I'm a bit of a love child with Caleb and Joel because I really love to make stuff where I'm just like, that would just be cool to exist in the world. And of course, I'd love for people to look at it and go, I can't believe you made that, that's cool. But the fact that there's usually lessons in it that will inspire other people, I've turned the question all around, inspire other people to say, oh, I could take a piece of that and now make the crank I want to build or the little car I want to build. So there's a bit of wanting to show something that you can take into like really weird different directions, and that helps with wanting to make something that's just plain neat.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, over here.
So listening to Bob's podcast, I know that you were really deliberate at the beginning about branding and your business side. How early in the process for the other panel members did you really worry about branding and the business side of stuff outside of the content? I know the content is king, but like as not being a business owner in the past, like how do you guys start that business side of it?
How early did you focus on the business side and branding of your brand, your channel, your stuff?
I'd have to say YouTube wasn't a job at the start. It was actually to stop people asking me the same questions at my 3D printing day job. So I'd say, here, I've had a review of this printer. You can go watch that instead of asking me really questions about it. And then so it turned into a job where I need a logo, I need an intro, and I need to come. So I ended up buying lots of small business books. I ended up buying lots of branding books, and slowly over the years, kind of relearned everything that I knew about, I guess, small business to get it working.
I just created a channel called 3D Printing Nerd, and I started putting stuff up there, and then and here I sit today.
I change my channel graphics every like 6 months. I don't know. It's web publishing. Nothing's permanent.
Yeah, I mostly rely just on my name and whatever social media or goodwill or teaching a class or going and talking somewhere. So instead of branding on the logo, really, it's mostly just about continuously doing stuff that's
This guy's intense.
Kind of like these two. I was a maker for hire. I'm like a freelance hitman as far as video content creation goes. So my brand was always whoever was hiring me to make stuff. It was Hackaday initially. Everything I did, everything was Hackaday. The logo, everything I said, everything was Hackaday. And so I was really loyal to that brand and had it on everything from the beginning. But I didn't brand myself until like a few months ago. And now I just have my name on everything. So it's different for everybody, I guess. We only have 1.5 minutes left. Super quick, you.
So those of you who are in this position where you are makers for like bigger companies like Edgar Park and that's such a unique position. I'm wondering like how you came into that.
How did we come into being makers for companies? Luck on my part. That's all it was. I started doing stuff, they liked what I was doing, and they hired me.
Yeah, it took a decade, really, for me to go, or more, to go from doing stuff with Make while having a day job to doing full-time.
Yeah, so I started for Make when I was in grad school, so like they asked me to write an article about a project I did in college, and then they liked that project and asked me to write a blog, and then I was like, should I do some videos maybe? And then I got out of grad school and got a full-time job there at Make, and then worked there for 4 years, and then went to Adafruit, and so like it's a progression of things. Really, it was just constantly hitting that publish button over and over again, and then sending it to people who might be impressed and hire you.
And kind of back to what Bob was saying earlier, participate in the community. Make a name for yourself. People knew who I was. It blew me away. I went to a Makerfaire, and Phil Terone was like, hey, you're Caleb Kraft. And he was like a celebrity to me. He was like a movie star, and so it blew my mind.
It's not what you know, it's who you know.
Get out there and participate. Participate in the community. And that's how you work your way up to get in. We are out of time. Those of you who will be able to stay will be out in the lobby to answer questions.